Outrage is now boiling over against the Netanyahu government after 6 hostages were murdered in Gaza. The country now faces a nationwide strike after mass demonstrations over the weekend demanding the prime minister step down. Protesters say he hasn't done enough to make a deal to bring the remaining hostages home. The 6 hostages who Israel says were murdered by Hamas include Hersh Goldberg-Polin, an Israeli American. Imtiaz Tyab is in Tel Aviv with the latest. Imtiaz, good morning.
Ed, good morning to you. Well, today's national strike has seen Israel's airport shut and its economy grind to a virtual standstill as public anger over the government's handling of the war on Gaza continues to grow following the killings of the 6 hostages, including Israeli-American Hersh Goldberg-Polin.
Filled with grief and fury, tens of thousands of Israelis filled the streets of Tel Aviv, blaming the killings of the hostages squarely on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his extreme right-wing government allies.
I think we have a criminal government who lets the hostages be murdered only for the sake of the coalition.
A coalition, they say, has prioritized the war on Gaza over a deal with Hamas, which would see the remaining 100 or so hostages freed. In Jerusalem, another massive rally, this time outside the Prime Minister's office, where we met Lee Siegel, the brother of Keith Siegel, an Israeli-American still being held in Gaza.
My message to Prime Minister Netanyahu is that my brother Keith and all the remaining hostages need to be home immediately.
The 6 hostages have been identified as Ori Danino, Alex Lobanov, Almog Sarusi, Carmel Gat, Eden Yerushalmi, and Israeli-American Hersh Goldberg-Polin. Goldberg-Polin's parents' campaign to bring attention to the plight of the hostages took them around the world, including an address at last month's Democratic Party convention.
Hersh, if you can hear us, we love you. Stay strong. Survive.
In a statement, they said, with broken hearts, the Goldberg-Polin family is devastated to announce the death of their beloved son and brother, Hersh. According to the Israeli military, the hostages' bodies were found in a Hamas tunnel in southern Gaza. Initial autopsy reports found all were shot in the head between 48 and 72 hours before their remains were recovered. And while Hamas denies the killings, Israelis continue to bitterly protest against their own government. For months, the U.S.-backed hostages for peace deal with Hamas has been stuck, and Netanyahu has repeatedly been accused of stalling the talks for his own political gain. Protesters say they're now hopeful this giant wave of public anger could signal a new level of pressure on him to finally agree to a deal.
And President Biden spoke to the Goldberg-Polin family, telling them, quote, Hamas leaders will pay for their crimes. But he also told reporters he was still optimistic a deal could be reached. Now, later this morning, he and Vice President Kamala Harris are scheduled to meet with the team representing the U.S. in the hostage deal negotiations. That meeting will be at the White House Situation Room.